30 minutes or free. 4 words. For over a decade, they were stamped on every Domino's pizza box, repeated in every commercial, quoted in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, in The Simpsons, in Spider-Man 2, a film released 10 years after the company had already pulled them. By 1988, at least 20 deaths nationwide were tied to crashes involving Domino's delivery drivers. Researchers later estimated those drivers were dying on the job at roughly the same rate as coal miners. A pizza company with a fatality rate that rivaled one of the most dangerous professions in America. Then, in 1 week in December 1993, those 4 words vanished off every menu, every box, every commercial, permanently. Most Americans can still recite them. Almost nobody knows it took a $78 million verdict to make that happen. Tom Monaghan grew up in a Michigan orphanage. By age 12, he had lived in more foster homes than he could count. At 24, he and his brother purchased a struggling, independent pizza parlor named Dominic's in Ypsilanti, Michigan, with a $900 loan. Within a year, his brother James traded his half of the business for the store's only delivery car, a used 1959 Volkswagen Beetle, to escape the mounting debt, and drove off. Monaghan stayed, sleeping on a cot in the back of the store, now with no partner and no car. To run the business, Monaghan hired 2 unemployed factory workers to deliver pizzas. They drove their own vehicles and made 10 cents an hour plus commission. Domino's could not compete with Pizza Hut's capital or real estate, so Monaghan focused entirely on delivery. To ensure operational consistency across his growing network of stores, Monaghan established the College of Pizzerology in the 1970s. The school trained franchisees to execute a highly standardized prep and delivery routine. He stripped the menu down to 2 sizes of pizza and soft drinks, deliberately avoiding the complex pasta and side dishes sold by Pizza Hut. He removed all tables from the stores to maintain a minimalist, delivery-centric aesthetic. He introduced the corrugated cardboard pizza box, which was engineered to stack without collapsing the lids. He deployed high-temperature conveyor ovens. Every pizza left the oven in under 8 minutes. To speed up transit times, Domino's even outfitted specialized gas ovens to work inside the trunks of delivery vehicles. In the mid-1970s, the company introduced its first delivery promotion, a half-hour or a $50 off. In 1979, with 287 stores in operation, Monaghan raised the stakes, officially launching the national 30 minutes or it is free guarantee. The strategy drove rapid expansion. The chain opened its 200th store in 1978, reached 5,000 stores by 1989, and operated over 5,200 outlets by 1993. Tom Monaghan had transformed a single college town storefront into a global corporate entity, with the 30-minute guarantee serving as the primary driver of the company's market share. If a pizza remained in the kitchen after 25 minutes, the store screens turned red.
And what are we looking on our screen? And we look, no, don't look at the screen because it's kind of red.
Store managers' bonuses dropped if average delivery times exceeded 30 minutes. If the time stayed low, the manager was paid. If they slipped, the manager lost money. That meant 5,000 store managers across all 50 states, watching the same red screens, making the same calculation every night. In 1986, the guarantee changed. Customers received a $3 discount instead of a free pizza if the delivery exceeded 30 minutes. This discount applied to all orders of 5 pizzas or less. The 30-minute operational deadline remained exactly the same. The consequences of this system were documented in multiple police reports and civil lawsuits. On the 5th of October, 1985, a teenage driver was handed a pizza with exactly 6 minutes and 40 seconds remaining on his countdown. He accelerated out of a Pittsburgh parking lot without yielding, broadsiding a car driven by Frank and Mary John Cranach. Mary John Cranach suffered head and neck injuries, while Frank John Cranach suffered a broken collarbone. Before the ambulance arrived, A store manager ran down the street, retrieved the pizza from the wrecked vehicle, and handed it to a second driver. Witnesses heard the manager say, "Let's get this pizza on the road." The Cranach's lawyer, Kenneth Barrand, documented that the manager and the drivers operated under extreme corporate pressure to prioritize the delivery clock over public safety. On May 25, 1990, near the Indiana-Michigan state line, 18-year-old Christopher Braden sped through a rainy intersection with 2 minutes and 45 seconds left on the delivery clock. Braden was driving a delivery truck for Scott Halverson, who held the franchise for the Niles, Michigan store. Braden's truck struck a van, killing 41-year-old Susan Noonan Wauchop of Calumet City, Illinois. Wauchop's 3 sons and a friend, Timothy Scott, were injured in the collision. Braden had bypassed his seatbelt to save 3 seconds when exiting the vehicle. The lawsuit filed by the Wauchop family resulted in a $2.8 million out-of-court settlement, paid primarily by the franchisee's insurance. The company didn't carry the risk. It exported it. Domino's Pizza, Inc. did not own the stores. Independent franchisees operated the storefronts under contract, insulating the parent company. The parent company licensed the brand, collected a 5.5% royalty fee on gross sales, and dictated the 30-minute policy. The local franchisee hired the drivers and purchased the auto insurance. If a driver ran a red light, the lawsuit hit the local franchisee's insurance, not the corporate headquarters in Ann Arbor, Michigan. For 15 years, individual claims and fatal accidents were settled quietly on a local level, funded by the independent insurance policies of individual franchisees. The cumulative financial and reputational cost of these accidents was kept off the balance sheets of the parent corporation. Domino's Pizza, Inc. collected royalty fees from top-line revenue, while the operational liabilities remained entirely decentralized. Each franchise owner absorbed the risk alone, case by case, settlement by settlement, insurance claim by insurance claim. Some numbers are too large to hide. On the 11th of August, 1989, in St. Louis, Missouri, an 18-year-old delivery driver named Edward L. Dent ran a red light with 97 seconds remaining on his delivery clock. Dent was working for Hively Corp., the local franchise operator. His vehicle broadsided a station wagon driven by 49-year-old Jean Kinder. Jean Kinder and her daughter were traveling to a local bowling alley to test her daughter's new bowling ball. The broadside collision left Kinder with permanent spinal and head injuries. Just as the system was designed, the 18-year-old driver settled out of court with Kinder for $150,000 covered locally. But her attorney, Paul Kovacs, filed a second lawsuit targeting both the local operator, Hively Corp., and the parent corporation, Domino's Pizza, Inc. Kovacs argued that the accident was the direct result of a corporate policy that prioritized speed over public safety, creating a system of corporate negligence. During the trial, Domino's corporate defense team argued that they had no direct control over the daily conduct of the franchisee's employees. They asserted that the 30-minute delivery guarantee was merely a marketing promotion and did not constitute a hazardous directive. The jury rejected the corporate defense. On the 17th of December 1993, the St. Louis Circuit Court jury awarded Jean Kinder $750,000 in actual damages. They assessed $78 million in punitive damages, specifically against Domino's Pizza. The $78 million figure matched the exact amount Domino's paid or refunded to customers nationwide in a single year for late delivery claims. One juror later told reporters, "They don't care about public safety. They care only about the almighty dollar." The punitive damages award exceeded the parent company's net profits for the year. A single jury, in a single afternoon, had reached into the company's finances and pulled out more than the slogan had earned them in 12 months combined. 4 days later, on the 21st of December, 1993, Tom Monaghan held a news conference at corporate headquarters and announced the immediate termination of the 30-minute guarantee. Monaghan stated that the St. Louis jury award was certainly the thing that put us over the edge. The cancellation of the guarantee created an immediate rift within the franchise system. Frank Meeks, a major franchisee who owned 53 Domino's locations in the Washington, D.C. area, publicly declared, "I'm a renegade. I'm not going to do it." Meeks refused to drop the guarantee for his company-owned Washington area stores, which generated $60 million in annual sales, showing how deeply embedded the speed expectation was in the franchise system. The company didn't sell food, it sold speed and outsourced the consequences. The deaths of 20 people did not end the 30-minute guarantee. The threat to corporate profits did. The guarantee was an actuarial calculation. It was a bet that the revenue from a speed-based brand identity would exceed the resulting liabilities. The parent corporation collected royalty payments from 5,000 stores, while the costs were absorbed by underpaid drivers, local franchise insurance policies, and injured members of the public. The corporate office operated the system until a single jury in St. Louis raised the cost of the bet beyond what the company could afford to pay. The 30 minutes was never about delivery time. It was what Domino's was actually selling, not pizza, not even speed. A bet. A bet repeated millions of times a year. A bet that the company could win a race against its own promise, faster than anyone could prove what that race was actually costing. In refunds, in lawsuits, in the families of Susan Noonan Wachop and Gene Kinder. For 15 years, they won that bet, case after case, settlement after settlement, one quiet franchise at a time. Then, in one courtroom in St. Louis, the number got too big to keep winning quietly. The 21st of December, 1993, the stopwatch stopped.